nothing happened. There was no consequences to that action, so that there was no respect for the government at that point. You issue a curfew and there's no consequences when you break that curfew, then guess what? I'm going to continue to break that curfew until there is some kind of consequences. And that's what we're dealing with when it comes to the pandemic. There are no consequences that are being put in place for not wearing your mask. So a lot of stores now in North Carolina, you walk in without your mask, and managers and associates are going to look at you, and they're not going to tell you, hey, you have to get out of my store until you put a mask on. Or people will do this number right here. That you don't have a mask on.
Put the shirt up on their face. Yeah, some people do that too.
And it's like, that's not a mask. Like there has to be a level of commitment from the government, a level of commitment from the other citizens that they're going to uphold it, not only because it's, for our safety, but for their own safety. I have family to go home to. Jermel has family to go home to. And that's like one of our biggest concerns. We go out and we still hit the streets and do our show, but when we leave the studio, we all have masks. We all have hand sanitizer. We all, we even made a mask with our show logo on it, just so we can make sure that we're even advising our viewers to make sure that they're staying safe.
Yeah, I think you brought up three things that I want you to describe a bit more. Number one, if someone is positive and they still go to the shops or they still walk to the streets without a mask, isn't that criminal? Number one.
Well, see, okay, go ahead.
Number one. Number two, mandatory versus social consciousness, right? You want to love your neighbor. Very general words, right? You want to take care of each other. So, mandatory versus that. And probably that's because, probably that is manifested in people who, who hold on to freedom. They talked about, okay, you're taking away my freedom because you're mandating it. But probably they also forgot to emphasize that even without the law, there is it's human decency to be socially responsible.
Right.
Neighbors, and this pandemic, it's an infectious disease, right?
Right.
And that's why you've got quarantine rooms in the airports in the past. Like when I was going through the airports in the past, what's that? But now I think you guys see it too. Like, for many years, I've always gone through the checkpoint and the customs, and then there's always this quarantine room. I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
Right.
About being socially responsible. So this is the second thing. And the third thing is like, people want to be responsible for their family. About self-individual, you don't want to be going out, and when people are not responsible, and you don't want to be like carrying whatever thing passed over to be home and then to be like spreading it home, right, on a very individual level. I want you guys to discuss these three concepts in the US.
Well, first, talking about the idea of it being criminal. The reason why the issue of that is a non-issue is because of the disproportionate way that they distribute the information, the disproportionate way that they enforce the law. So going back to my previous point, depending on what state you're in, to what city you're in, the law can be either lax or sometimes enforced strictly. And so that's what the issue is. So if you're in a place where, like, take Florida for instance. Florida had a Republican governor. They didn't even mandate that you have to wear a mask. The governor himself wouldn't even wear a mask. So you as the leader of the state, you're not even following the guidelines from the CDC. You're not following the guidelines from the public health department here in the United States, you're going against that. And so the citizens are seeing the leader not even following those rules. They're not taking it serious. It's thus Florida was an epicenter for the disease because they were not following. It was on the beaches in the middle of the pandemic because the governor wasn't enforcing the law. The mandate. Now, you talk about social responsibility and social awareness and that idea. See, that goes to the United States itself is very divided.
Yep.
It's divided economically, it's divided racially, it's divided in so many different ways. And so that division erodes the idea of social responsibility, social awareness, because if you don't see an individual as equal to you, then you don't care whether or not they catch the virus, whether or not they catch the disease.
Well said.
You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the issues with the lack of social responsibility here in the United States, because some people are seen as less than, not equal to, or not even human.
That's very well said. Very well
and
said.
so that's part of the issue with that. And then your third point was family, and I still really I would have to attach that to my second point. Is that
it's
everybody's value is different, and on top of that, because of the people not having that social awareness, they're not really caring about you going home to your family. And then the ignorance and the misinformation compounds the idea of, it's not going to happen to me. The arrogance of being a United States citizen. The United States is very arrogant, and you can see that throughout history. And that's why it's not going to happen to me. I'm stronger than that. I'm stronger than the virus. Even though it may not be said consciously, but subconsciously, because it's something that's been indoctrinated into the people in the United States of this arrogance that they don't really see it as, even if that person has that virus, hey, it's okay. We're strong. We're in the United States. We're strong. It can't affect us. And that's why you're seeing these people going home to their families and infecting them, infecting their neighbors, infecting their co-workers. And our numbers are steady going up, 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 and up.
So how do you deal with it on a day-to-day level? If you do meet someone who's in the street, or you see someone that you know or you don't know, but you just encounter someone, describe to me and to us, the viewers, in a more real manner, what happens what happens when someone who is a believer in the mask meets someone who's a non-believer in the mask? What kind of dynamic happens?
I think it just depends on the person. Everyone is raised differently, so everyone's reaction is differently. I know for myself personally, if I am interacting with someone without a mask, 9 times out of 10 I'm not interacting with them, period, unless I know you on a certain level. Like I interact with the guys here without a mask on if if we go out and we take our mask off in order to breathe, because when I'm around them all the time,
part of your bubble.
There are certain people that I go to church with that I will interact without a mask, because I know
like the bubble, right? The group of people, the bubble.
And if you're not in our bubble, and you don't have a mask on, I'm not talking to you, or I'm going to tell you, hey, I need for you to put a mask on. My day job is to work in a warehouse. There are thousands of people that work in the warehouse that I work at. There have been several people, including managers, who have come up to me and try to have a conversation with me without a mask on, and I tell them, hey, need you to put a mask on, pull your mask back up, whatever the case may be, because my safety and returning home to my family and my friends is the utmost important to me. And not only that, I don't want to be the cause of someone else getting sick if ever I was to contract the virus. So it's all about how you're raised. It's all about, you know, who you're dealing with. Because I've had some people that have, when I've asked them to put on a mask, they, you know, a guy at work actually, I was like, hey, can you put a mask on while we talk? And he was like, no, I don't believe in wearing no mask. This virus is not that serious. So, and I kindly and politely told him, well, we cannot have a conversation. And I walked off. And he had an attitude about it. But the safety of the people that are around me, the safety of the people that are in my bubble, and the safety of the people that aren't in my bubble mean more to me than, you know, having a fiddle or faddle with a mask. Because do I like wearing a mask? Absolutely not. I have glasses. They fog up every time I put a mask on. So, you know, I'm not a fan of a mask, but I'm a fan of having my health. I'm a fan of being here another day. So that's important. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when we people, I mean, this happens in many countries, right? It happens in a lot of countries where there's such a diverse views of number one, mandates versus freedom, mass versus conspiracy, etc. I mean, it's all over the world, not only in the US. But, you know, I mean, and someone like me, I read the news. Okay, by the way, just to let you guys know, because if you want to put this up on your YouTube, here in Singapore, it is mandatory that once you leave your house, you do have to wear a mask. And people who have been caught without a mask are brought to court. They're either fined or they have to be in jail. All right, and this is serious, and it's broadcast in the news so that it warns people. So we take this seriously, and therefore addresses the issue of consequence. It is enforced, and there are consequences, and the consequence is broadcast.
Wow.
And of course it goes.
See, that's the difference. That's the difference. In Singapore, you guys have those rules, and you're very strict on them, and they enforce it. You know, if you walk out your house and you don't have a mask and you get caught, you getting fined or you going to jail. Here in the States, that's not the case, unfortunately.
Yeah, the United States like to have that illusion that they are a freedom state, and they like to be, you know, this is the best place to live. That's an illusion. You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. There's some good things about the United States. I'm not bashing the United States, but a lot of things that they portray and put out over the media for the world to see is an illusion. It's not like that. You know, they don't really. It's about the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah, and there's so much for us to discuss in my observation of your conversation. There's so many things that is underlining what you say. Right. You know, this can like go on for 3 days and 3 nights. And I want to talk about, you know, like when people who are outside, when we read the news, there's so many violent confrontation between people who wear the mask and people who strongly oppose the mask. Not just in the US, it happens in Europe, right?
Yeah. So, Western countries in general.
Tell us about some of these real incidences.
Well, you have had people, like you had a lady that walked in Target and she took all the masks and threw them all on the ground. Yeah. Because he said the mask is a conspiracy. You had a man that walked into, I believe it was a McDonald's, and he asked him, he was just asked politely, sir, can you put on a mask? And he threatened to beat up the guy behind the counter. Yeah. You know, so you have these incidents where these people go overboard, and I believe that the problem is, you know, is the way that it's not being enforced. See, like you said, how it's enforced in Singapore. I think if they had that kind of enforcement here, you wouldn't have a lot of these incidents. Right. You know, you had a couple people, you know, throwing stuff behind the counter, throwing stuff at workers. Yeah. And see, the bad thing about it, you got people that's working in like these retail places and fast food places They're the ones getting attacked.
And they're considered essential workers, so they don't have an option not to be at work.
Right.
They have to be at work. So they're having to get the brunt of everything that is happening in the world for something that they have no control over,
right.
for something that they have nothing to do with.
Yeah, and I remember watching the news or reading the news online. There was a time whereby people were all in the street protesting
Right.
home isolation, and of course, because in certain states you're allowed to have the guns, the rifles, etc. And the people are all in the street, and then there's this huge atmosphere of tension, fear, fusion, almost teetering into like a war zone. How real is this that we read online?
Well, see, here's the thing. That's another thing. A tenet to the United States is this right to bear arms. But going back to what I said, the illusion about that is the right to bear arms for white people.
Yeah.
And that's what the issue is. If you look at what happened in Michigan, state of Michigan, they went into the state capitol with assault rifles and protesting against the governor mandating them wearing masks.
Right.
They were screaming and hollering at the police, in the police face. All that was happening, and nothing happened to them. Now, you had in Louisiana, there was a black group that was trying to, exercise their Second Amendment right, their right to bear arms. It was immediately confronted by police and asked why were they there with those guns. And see we're here, and that's what lies the issue, the big issue when it comes to the tension, the violence, because you have one group that is not threatened. Well, let me not say threatened. You got one group that does not say anything about them carrying arms.
Right.
So they feel they can just walk around with their rifles, their assault rifles, because that's their right. That's their right to do that. You have another group who is supposed to be protected by that same law, are told, why are you here? You need to put the guns down, or they are shot down in the streets by police because they have these guns that they have a right to carry. Now, by state, it's different. You have some states, what they call open carry states, where you can have your gun on you at all times. You have some states where, only way you do that, you have, you can't do that. You can carry a shotgun in your trunk or something like that, but you can't have an open carry firearm.
Right.
So each state is different. But like I said, the issue is that you have a lot of this tension. So you have people protesting in the streets about masks with guns. You have protesting people about civil rights in the streets without guns. And all these people are coming together, and that's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing on the news.
Yeah.
But they're not giving the whole context behind it either.
And I think
it's being lost.
Yeah, and I think the issue with in America, period, is we have so many underlying issues that are going on in the world. When this pandemic hit, it was so much more stuff that's added on to it. So us as human beings and being emotional creatures, it's an overload. It's a very big overload of everything. So we can't process the right thing to do with the pandemic in America because we have the pandemic going on, but we also have young black men and black men in general being killed.
Right.
We also have people dying for other issues. You have people that are getting laid off. So you have all of that going on top of you have an election year. We're in the middle of a presidential election right now. So you have all of that going on to, the human race and going on to everything that's going on in America. Your last thought sometimes is to go get a mask or to think about, this is conspiracy theory. You got all these different things that have to be put into play when you're here in America, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah, and I like what Jermel has talked about Americans feel invincible. Like I'm the Superman.
Right. Right.
You know, and you can define it in your context, right? What the Superman is like. Okay, this is not going to touch me. I'm protected. I'm good. This is a strong country. I'm a strong person. Da 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 da. I mean, depend on how someone wants to define that Superman mentality. Psychic, I would say that there's almost like a psychic DNA that is already in there. Would you like to explain a little bit? Would you like to explain or describe a little bit? How's your interaction with like this? What was your understanding about this Superman invincibility concept?
I think like if you go back to historical events concerning the United States, those events were always told in ways that the United States were on top. If you look at the Vietnam War, you know, it still wasn't told that in the way the United States lost the war. It was told in a way, well, it was, you know, it wasn't really told us that the United States lost the war. So we have all these different stories being told to us as kids, as Americans, of how great we are and that we always win no matter what we do.
Yeah.
And this is being told to us sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, you know, that we are this great country, America first. America is great. There's none greater than us. And then you actually look at that when you compound that with immigrants that always, when they come over here, because they see that story being told, and so when they come to you, this country is great. This country is great, you know. And so they come over here with that mentality. Which when you hear that, you say, yeah, it must be great because everybody want to come over here.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot of times when they get over here, they find out some of the ugliness is here. You know, it's kind of like, it's almost like this masquerade or this play that's going on.
Masquerade.
You know what I'm saying? We on stage, you know, United States is putting on this play for the world.
Yeah.
But then when you go behind the scenes and you look at the actors, they at each other's throat.
Yeah.
You know, but when the curtains pull back,
they're the best of friends.
They're the best of friends. The play goes on. And that I think that's a good depiction of how the United States is. Yeah. You know, we're great. We're perfect. There's nothing wrong here. And when the curtains are pulled and you go behind the stage, I can't stand you. I don't like you. You're not this. You get out of my face. You know, that kind of thing. And that's kind of like a good depiction of how the United States is.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I'm speechless. I think you actually described it the way that in just a few words. You know, the thing that we are reading off the internet or the news. I think it's something that it's a deep and big topic. It's such a huge topic. I'm speechless, and I hope that one day you could, you know, you guys can come onto the show or even in your show talk about this concept of the Superman, America, the Superman.
We're always open to talk about
invincibility. You know, yeah, how real it is. You know, I think it's such a huge topic that you encapsulate and you've encapsulated clearly to people who are outside. Like, you know.
Let me say this for you. Let me say this right quick. So I want to give you the example of the cowboy. Okay. I don't know if you ever watched a cowboy western. Have you ever seen a United States western?
A western, yeah.
Cowboy, yeah. So the cowboy is this image of this great person. You know, he fights against the Indians who, quote unquote, supposed to be the bad person.
Yep.
You know, he rustles the cattle. He wins he wins the woman. The cowboy is the champion. But but the real thing, cowboy was actually a derogatory term for Black people.
Oh.
When that actually so the term boy was always given to Black people as a derogatory term. You're not a man, you're a boy.
Yeah.
and then those people were kind of like rustle the cattle. Cause we were brought up here as slaves to handle, all the different menial tasks. So that person who handled the cattle, handled the field, he was a cowboy, a derogatory term. So then America took that term and turned him into a hero and made him white. The guy dressed in white with the white hat, good guy. The guy dressed in a black hat, bad guy. And these terms are put into our mind as people, as we grow up. Anything that's white is good, anything that's black is bad. And these things are indicative in how citizens view each other. Either, like I said, sometimes it's direct, sometimes it's indirect. You take the thing where they had the two dials. They took a child. They had a black dial. They had a white dial. And you asked the child, which one is the good dial? Which one you want to play with? I want to play with the white dial. The white dial is the good dial. The white dial, is the one I want to play with. From black or white, none of them want to play with the black dial.
Right.
And see, that mentality is fused in the mind of American citizens.
Yep.
And that really speaks to what goes on in America, and the Superman mentality. White is great. White is elevated. I mean, it started, even the whole idea of race is a modern construct.
Yeah.
But because people here in the United States are lazy, they don't read, they don't study, they don't know some of these things. They don't know that Blumenbach, who was Darwin's cousin, started this idea of race and separated race and one of white supremacy and all that stuff came from all that. And this is really embedded in the DNA of the United States. And that burst the Superman mentality because the white race is the better race.
Right.
And so then what they do is, if I need you as a minority, then you can become that Superman. You can fight on our team. As soon as that need is gone, you go back to where you were.
Yep. Exactly.
And I think that kind of speaks to not only the Superman complex, but also the issue that we the underlying issue that's with it. The only one that's Superman is the white man.
Yeah. That's a good job, friend. Good job. That's a good analogy.
Can I? I've taken up like an hour of your time. Can I invite you guys back?
Anytime.
So that you can educate the world.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but
We'll give our opinion.
We give our best.
We'll
you
educate
the world about this very factious, huge country that you say is really divided into like it's like broken into pieces. Maybe like you can shine a light to the rest of the world we don't live there, or do we go there? It's too far from us. I mean, I go there as a tourist, I go So like probably that is another example of what you say is, Disneyland, the facade. You go there as a tourist. It's a beautiful fairy tale, but behind the scene, people are scrambling.
Right.
Very much.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think if you guys are okay and you guys are comfortable with this platform and you can use the video or the voice podcast for your shows, also on YouTube and podcast, we could cross-reference each other. Educate another part of your audience from another part of the world.
Right.
What is America? What is America? What does it mean to you? And who is an American? I think these are big topics, and you can like cut. Look, I don't know how you're gonna cut it. Probably you're gonna.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But I think it's good to start somewhere. I mean, it has to.
Yeah.
It has to start somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Are the Kardashians the Americans that we see are the true Americans? You know, we are outsiders, right? We don't know, right?
Right.
We just
Yeah,
watch whatever is given to us from the media.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
Right.
I hope that you guys, being real people, tell your story, tell your opinion with the world. And I always say that once everything that goes out to the podcast, to the internet world, to YouTube, time stops. Time is never a factor because someone can pick it up today, tomorrow. They can pick it up in 2020.
Yeah.
Right.
They can pick it up in 2021. They can pick up 10 years later. I mean, this is already
Right.
history. They already documented history. You know how important your job and my job is. And I see that's of great significance because sometime down the line, whatever timeline we're talking about, historians are going to pick this up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like in the Greek history, people are picking up the books, people are picking up the drawings in the cave, you know. So you know, these are something that we are documenting for ourselves, but it's for the world. So guys, okay, my battery is running out. I want to thank you guys. Come back again. Can we talk on the handphone? Can we talk on Facebook?
Yeah.
Sometime at the end of the month, let's talk about what is America.
Okay.
We're good to go.
Just send me a text.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to put up a trailer. Please send me your picture for the cover.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do. Thank you for having
I
us.
enjoyed so much, Ariel and Jermel. I enjoy you guys so much.
We enjoyed you too.
Enjoyed too.
Stay safe from Singapore. Okay, bye, guys.
Bye. Have a good one. Bye-bye.